He was older, married, my doctor. But when his hands touched me, they lingered. And when his eyes met mine, something cracked behind them, like a man holding back a storm. I thought I was just another patient, until the door clicked shut behind him, and he whispered my name like it was the only truth he'd ever spoken. When I woke up in the ER, my arm throbbed. The sharp scent of antiseptic stung my nose. I didn't expect anything more than a routine patch-up and a lecture about road safety. I'd crashed my motorcycle before, no big deal. Nothing broken this time, just a deep gash and a few bruises. I was shirtless, sore, annoyed, still buzzing with leftover adrenaline. Nurses floated around me like white shadows, checking monitors and murmuring things I didn't catch. My head was foggy, but my ego, still intact. Then, he walked in. Tall, too tall. Broad shoulders under a white coat that fit too well. Chocolate brown skin that looked sculpted. Eyes like carved obsidian, cold, focused, unreadable. His jaw was sharp, movements precise, controlled. He didn't look like a doctor nearing retirement. He looked like trouble. Dangerous. Silent. Magnetic. "I'm Dr. Elijah Hayes," he said, standing at the edge of the bed like he owned the room. "Can you tell me your name?" "Aiden," I answered, chest tightening unexpectedly. "Aiden Cross." He nodded. His gaze swept across the gash on my arm, but for just a second, I swear it lingered on my chest. Maybe I imagined it, or maybe I didn't. He stepped closer. I could feel the heat of him, even through the gloves he wore. His fingers were steady as he cleaned the wound, but his jaw ticked, subtle, restrained, like he was trying a little too hard to stay detached. "You've got a serious face, Doc," I said, watching him work. "You always like this?" He didn't look up. "I'm here to treat your injuries, not entertain." Ouch. So this is your version of a warm bedside manner? Or am I just lucky? That got his attention. His eyes flicked up to mine, sharp, unreadable. "Try to stay still." I smiled slowly. Not to be obnoxious, but because I liked watching people like him squirm. The ones who wore control like armor. The ones who didn't let go of anything. Ever. "You work out?" I asked, my eyes drifting to his arms beneath the white coat. He paused, just for a breath. Barely noticeable. But I caught it. "Focus on your breathing," he muttered. So, he was trying to be professional. Admirable. But still, human. And I knew when someone was holding something back. I tilted my head slightly, letting my hair fall just enough to catch his attention. "You're not like the other doctors I've met." He said nothing, but his hands? Slower now. More cautious. "You care," I added softly. "Like, really care. You feel things you don't show." This time his eyes rose to mine, and stayed there, locked. "You don't know me." "Not yet," I whispered. A silence fell. Thick. Dangerous. I should have shut up. Should have played the harmless patient. But something about him made me want to push. Gently, but unmistakably. "You ever seen a guy with 14 in?" The words left like a joke, but I meant them to land. Hard. His eyes widened for just a moment. Then he masked it with a breath so tight it hurt to watch. "Excuse me?" "And?" he shot back, deadpan. I shrugged, smirking. "You're a doctor. Bet you've seen a lot of weird things." He looked like he wanted to walk straight out the room. Instead, he grabbed the supply tray, packed the gauze and sutures, and turned toward the curtain. "Get some rest, Aiden," he said, almost like a warning. But as he pulled the curtain back, I swear, he hesitated. I caught it again. The way his hand hesitated. The way his shoulders tensed. He was trying so hard not to react. And that made me want to react even more. But once he left, the adrenaline faded. And something else settled in my chest. It wasn't just teasing anymore. Yeah, I'd flirted before. Guys, girls, whoever. But this? This wasn't about ego. It was about him. The way he looked at me. It didn't feel like ogling. It wasn't babying. It wasn't dismissal. It was like I was seen. Not as a reckless teenager who crashed a bike, but as a man. The rest of the day passed in a blur. Nurses checked in. Some interns came by to adjust the IV, but none of it mattered. Not really. All I could do was watch the clock, wondering, hoping, if he'd come back. And then, he did. Late afternoon. Quiet steps. I pretended to be asleep, but my pulse betrayed me the second I heard the curtain shift. "How's the pain?" His voice was softer this time. I opened my eyes slowly. "You tell me, Doc. You're the expert." He didn't smile, but his gaze flicked from my arm back to my face. "You're healing fine. No sign of infection. You'll be discharged in a few days." I frowned, more disappointed than I wanted to admit. Shame. I was starting to like it here. "I'm sure," he said dryly, and because I couldn't help myself. "Do you check up on all your patients this much, or am I just special?" His silence said more than any answer could. He looked like he wanted to say something, but instead, he turned away and scribbled something on the chart. "You don't talk much," I added. "I don't have to," he replied, still writing. "No. But when you do, I listen." He glanced up, held my gaze a second too long, then turned back to the chart, and walked out. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying that moment. His eyes on mine. The hesitation. The tension he tried so hard to bury. I'd been looked at before. Admired, desired, even judged. But with him, it felt different. His gaze was guarded, hungry, controlled. And maybe I was messed up for it. But I liked knowing I rattled him. I wasn't going to push too far. Not yet. But I knew now. He felt it too. And that was the beginning of everything. The next morning, the hospital felt colder. Or maybe it was just me. Waiting. I'd barely slept, my mind tangled with the image of Dr. Elijah Hayes standing in my doorway, like a soldier fighting a war no one else could see. I wanted to see him again, needed to, and not just because he was beautiful. Though let's not pretend that wasn't part of it. It was that storm in his eyes, that tug beneath the surface, the way he fought himself. And I wanted to know what would happen if he finally stopped fighting. Mid-morning, the door opened. My chest jumped, but it wasn't him. Nurse Ramirez smiled. "Vitals time, sweetheart." I faked a grin, played the charming patient. But inside, I was restless, disappointed. Lunch came and went. Watery soup, bland chicken. I picked at the tray, eyes flicking to the hallway, trying to look casual, trying not to care. Then, just as I was convincing myself he wasn't coming, he did. Dr. Elijah walked in, clipboard under his arm, expression calm, cold. But those eyes, still burning. "How's the arm?" he asked, not looking up. "Not bad," I shrugged. "Was hoping you'd show up earlier. Thought you forgot me." "I didn't," he said, flipping through my chart. "You're not my only patient." Ouch. Okay, so he had walls up today. Still, I smirked. "Yeah, but I bet I'm the only one who makes your pulse spike." His eyes snapped to mine. Sharp, warning. "Aiden!" I didn't flinch. "What?" "You need to take recovery seriously." I leaned back in the bed, feigning calm. "I am. No more bikes for now. I'm behaving." Then I let my voice drop, playful. "But lying around shirtless while a hot doctor checks on me? Could be worse, right?" His face didn't change, but I saw it. The flicker in his eyes, the twitch in his jaw. "You don't know what you're doing," he said, quieter now. "Don't I?" He said nothing, just stepped closer and carefully peeled back the gauze. His fingers were steady, professional, but they lingered, just a second too long, warm against my skin. "You're healing fast," he murmured. I smiled. "Told you. Good hands." He didn't reply, just started rewrapping the bandage with robotic focus. I watched him the whole time, letting the silence hang between us. He was trying so hard not to see me. That made it impossible for me to look away. When he turned to clean the tray, I said it. "You're avoiding me." "No. Too fast. I'm doing my job." "Then why won't you look at me when I talk to you?" His back stiffened. "Look, I'm not trying to cause problems," I said, quieter now. "But something happened yesterday, and I know you felt it too." He let out a long breath, still didn't turn around. "You're 19, he said. "And you're married." I shrugged. "Doesn't mean you didn't feel something." He turned finally, his eyes fierce, guarded. "It doesn't matter what I felt. You're a patient. This ends here." But his voice cracked, just a little. Enough. He wasn't convincing me. He was trying to convince himself. I sat up, ignoring the dull ache in my ribs. "Fine. Then do what you need to do. Go back to your rounds. Stay away." I paused. "But don't stand there and pretend I imagined all of it." We stared at each other, a long, breathless second. Then, he turned and left. Without another word. That should have been the end of it. But it wasn't. Later that afternoon, I buzzed the nurse, said I needed help going to the bathroom. I timed it, waited, patient, calculated, no response. They were busy. So, I buzzed again, and when the curtain finally pulled back, there he was. "Aiden," his voice was tight. "You called?" I nodded, wincing as I pressed my hand lightly to my ribs. "Yeah, sorry. I tried waiting, but it's getting hard to move. Think you could help me?" He hesitated. I didn't break eye contact. Then, he stepped forward, slipped an arm behind my back, helped me swing my legs over the bed. The hospital gown clung to my chest. His hand was warm on my skin. "You okay?" he asked. "Better now," I whispered. And I meant it. We didn't say a word as he helped me down the hallway. But the silence? It buzzed between us like electricity. When we reached the bathroom door, I turned the handle, glanced over my shoulder. "Could you just wait in here a sec? I get a little dizzy sometimes." He nodded once and followed. I closed the door behind us, then locked it. The click of the lock echoed through the small tiled room. Dr. Elijah turned slowly, his voice low. "Aiden." I leaned back against the sink, arms crossed. "Relax, I'm not going to pounce on you." "You shouldn't have locked the door," he said tightly. "I just wanted to talk. Alone. No nurses, no distractions." He exhaled hard through his nose, rubbing a hand across his jaw. "You're making this harder than it already is." "Good," I replied. "You're not the only one feeling it, you know." He looked at me then. Really looked. Like all the walls he'd built were starting to crack. "You think I don't notice the way you look at me?" I stepped closer. "Like you're dying to touch me, but hating yourself for it." His jaw clenched. Then, softly, painfully, "I don't hate you." "I didn't say you did." He stepped back suddenly, like the air had gotten too thick to breathe. "This is inappropriate," he repeated. "Yeah," I said, moving closer. "But it's real." He didn't move. So I raised a hand, slow, careful, and rested it over his chest. "Your heart's racing," I whispered. He closed his eyes. And in that moment, I knew I had him. But this wasn't just lust. The moment my palm met his chest, I felt it. His heart pounding like it was trying to break free. Like it had been locked up for years. His jaw tightened, his throat bobbed. Every muscle in his body screamed tension. Still, I didn't speak. I let the silence sit between us. Heavy. Electric. "I'm not going to do anything you don't want," I murmured. "But if you want me to stop, you need to say it. Now." His eyes opened, slowly. Dark. Conflicted. Haunted. He didn't speak. Didn't blink. Didn't pull away. He just looked at me. Like he was begging me to take this decision away from him. I should have stepped back, I should have given him space, but I didn't. Instead, I leaned in, so close our foreheads nearly touched, so close I could feel the shape of his breath against my lips. I could see the war happening inside him. He wanted control, and I was taking it away, inch by inch. "I'm not just playing a game," I said, softer now. "I saw the way you looked at me. You've been trying to hide it since the moment we met." His voice came low, strained. "Aiden." I smiled faintly. "Yeah, I know." My thumb brushed the edge of his jaw. He exhaled, shaky. His hand moved, slow, hesitant, and settled lightly at my waist. Not a grab, a question, an anchor. I didn't move. I let him choose. And then he leaned in, just enough for his lips to graze mine, like a thought he wasn't sure he should finish. That kiss was soft, hesitant, but it said everything he couldn't. My heart jumped, and for a second, I forgot we were in a hospital bathroom. I forgot everything but him. His lips were warm and unsure, like he still hadn't decided if this was madness or mercy. But when I kissed him back, really kissed him, he stopped hesitating. His arms circled around me, pulling me in. And God, it wasn't just lust. It was release. It was relief. He kissed like a man who hadn't let himself feel anything in years. And now he couldn't stop. I melted into him. My fingers tangled in the hem of his coat. His hands roamed my back, trembling, gripping tighter. It was breathless, messy, too fast, and somehow not fast enough. But then, just as suddenly, he pulled away. His eyes were wide, panic already rising like floodwater. His hands dropped to his sides, ashamed. "This can't happen," he breathed. "I'm married, I have a family." I didn't flinch, didn't even feel disappointed, because what I saw in his face, it wasn't guilt, it was fear, not of what we'd done, but of what it meant. "I'm not asking you to leave them," I said gently. "I'm not asking for anything beyond this moment. I just wanted you to stop pretending." He turned to the sink, gripping it like it was the only solid thing in the room. His shoulders shook. "You don't understand," he whispered. "I've built my whole life around control, discipline. I've never—" He stopped short, voice cracking. "I can't afford to lose that." "You don't have to," I said, stepping closer. "You just have to admit you're not a machine. You feel things. You felt this." He looked at me, really looked. And for the first time, there was no resistance. There was longing, raw and honest. "I don't know what this is," he whispered. "It doesn't have to be anything," I said. "It can just be this." I reached for his hand. He didn't pull away. Our fingers laced, slowly, cautiously, like we were learning a new language in silence. "I'm not trying to break you," I said, voice trembling. "I just want to know what it feels like when you finally stop holding your breath." He looked at me, then kissed me again. This time it wasn't soft, it wasn't careful, it was hungry. His hands tangled in my hair. My back hit the cold tile wall. My body was on fire. Every second burned hotter. He kissed like a man stealing time, borrowing a moment from a life that was never his, and I kissed him like I didn't care if we ever gave it back. His lips trailed to my neck, warm, breathy. I gasped as his fingers grazed the skin just beneath my gown. Nothing obscene, nothing rushed, just intimate, enough to make my skin spark. I ran my hands under his coat, felt the tension wound tight in every muscle. He wanted to let go. God, he needed to, but he was terrified of what would happen if he did. Then, knock, knock, knock. 3 sharp raps on the door. A voice called out, "Doctor! Hayes? Are you in there?" Elijah froze. His breath hitched. Panic returned like a crashing wave. He straightened fast, adjusting his coat, fixing his hair. I stepped back, fixing my gown, fingers combing through my own mess of hair. "Yeah," he called, voice tight. "Just assisting the patient. One moment." He looked at me then, really looked, and something passed between us that didn't need to be said. His face was torn, between regret and something deeper, almost grief. "I'm sorry," he whispered. I shook my head gently. "Don't be." He reached for the lock, paused, hand resting on the door. He looked back, and in his eyes, fear. But also, hope. Maybe the scariest thing of all. Then, without another word, he stepped out. But somehow I knew he'd be back. 2 days passed, no sign of him. Nurses rotated in and out. 2 days of watching the hallway, like a dog waiting for its owner. 2 nights replaying that kiss. Not the lust, but the hunger. Like surrender. Like something that had been buried for years. Finally breaking the surface. I told myself not to care. Told myself it was just a moment. Just chemistry. But the ache in my chest didn't feel casual. And the silence that followed sure as hell didn't feel like closure. It felt like avoidance. Like he was ashamed. And that hurt more than I expected. By the 3rd day, I'd almost given up. Then, late in the afternoon, I heard the door open quietly. I turned my head, expecting another nurse. Maybe a new face. But it was him. Dr. Elijah Hayes. Except this time, he wasn't wearing his white coat. He had on a dark long-sleeve shirt, sleeves rolled up to his elbows, revealing those strong, tense forearms. He wasn't carrying a chart. Wasn't here to check vitals. He just stood in the doorway, looking at me like he didn't know whether to speak or run. My mouth opened to say something, anything. But he stepped inside and closed the door before I could. His jaw was tight, his eyes unreadable. "You've been avoiding me," I said. Tried to keep my voice light, but it came out too quiet, too raw. "I had to," he replied, stepping closer. "I needed to figure out what the hell I was doing." He stopped at the foot of my bed. "I still don't know." I sat up slowly, heart pounding. "Then why are you here?" He didn't answer immediately, just stared at me. Then, without a word, he crossed the room, pulled the curtain shut around us, and sat on the edge of my bed. I could smell him. Clean, warm, a trace of antiseptic and faint cologne. I could see the stubble on his jaw, the tension in his shoulders. But his hands, they weren't shaking this time. "I can't stop thinking about you," he said finally, his voice low and rough. "No matter how many times I try to push it away, it keeps coming back. You keep coming back." My throat tightened. "So what are you saying?" He met my eyes. "I'm saying, I'm tired of pretending." And then he kissed me. This time he started it. No hesitation. No testing the waters. His hand cupped my cheek as his lips found mine. Firm. Searching. I gasped into the kiss, caught off guard by the urgency. His other hand gripped my side, pulling me closer. Our bodies pressing together through the hospital blanket. I kissed him back without question. My hands slid up his chest, feeling the thud of his heartbeat beneath my palms. The kiss deepened quickly. Mouths parting, breath shared. He kissed like a man starving, like he'd been denying this for years, and couldn't anymore. His lips moved from my mouth to my neck. I tilted my head back, surrendering to the warmth of his breath against my skin. My fingers threaded through his hair, holding him close. "This is crazy," I murmured. "I know," he said, voice muffled against my throat. "But I don't care." He pulled back just enough to look at me, and this time, his eyes weren't conflicted. They were full of something else entirely, desire and relief, like he'd finally made peace with whatever war had been raging inside him. "You have no idea what you're doing to me," he whispered. I smiled faintly, brushing my thumb across his lips. "Maybe I do." He pushed the blanket aside gently. His eyes followed every line of my body. I wore only a hospital gown and shorts, but the way he looked at me made it feel like I was wearing nothing at all. His touch wasn't hesitant anymore. It was reverent. His hand rested on my chest, then slowly trailed downward. He leaned in and kissed me again. Softer this time. Slower. He shifted until he was half beside me, half over me, cradling me like something fragile. "You don't have to hold back," I whispered. "I'm not," he murmured. "But I want to remember this. Every second that stopped my breath. Because this wasn't just lust. It wasn't just heat. It was deliberate, personal, something deeper than either of us had planned for." His hand slid beneath my shirt, his palm flat against my stomach. I felt his breath stutter, like he was realizing just how warm, how real I was. My skin tingled beneath his touch. I arched into him, needing more, needing him. His lips brushed across my jaw, down the side of my neck. Everywhere he kissed me, my skin burned. But it was the way he looked at me that did the most damage. Like he saw every part of me, flaws and all, and still chose to stay. I pulled him closer. He responded instantly, his mouth returning to mine in a slow, consuming kiss. We moved beneath the sheet, our fingers laced, our hearts pounding in sync. Nothing about it was rushed. He explored me with purpose, like a man who didn't want to miss a single detail. His hands roamed, respectful, but sure. His lips stayed close, occasionally breaking to whisper my name, or murmur something that made my chest ache. I don't know how long we stayed like that. An hour? Maybe 2. Time blurred, melted into something quieter, something sacred. We didn't go all the way. Not yet. But what happened between us was still intimate. He held me, skin to skin, breath to breath, and for the first time, he wasn't pretending. Eventually we lay still, his head resting on my shoulder, one arm draped over my stomach. I ran my fingers through his hair and whispered, "You okay?" He didn't answer right away. Then, softly, "I don't know who I am right now. But I know this. This feels more real than anything has in years." And I knew exactly what he meant. But this wasn't the end. The next morning, I woke up to the rustle of paper, nurses moving through the corridor, the steady beep of monitors. But the bed beside me was cold. No hand tracing lazy circles on my chest. No voice whispering my name. Just silence. I sat up slowly, scanning the room, as if I'd find him hiding in a corner, or walking in late with coffee and some half-guilty excuse. But the room was empty. He was gone. I told myself not to overthink it. Maybe he had early rounds. Maybe it was a one-time thing and he panicked. But the pit forming in my stomach said otherwise. Something had shifted. It wasn't just absence. It was avoidance. And the longer the silence stretched, the harder it became to pretend that last night hadn't meant something. He didn't come by that day, or the next. I asked about him casually when the nurses checked in. They gave vague answers. "He's around. Probably with another patient." None of them met my eyes. That told me all I needed to know. Elijah was hiding. From me. From what we'd done. From whatever truth had scared him into running. By the 3rd day, I stopped pretending. I stared at the ceiling, arms folded behind my head, my chest still humming with the memory of his touch. His voice. The way he said my name like it mattered. I thought I'd feel used, embarrassed. But instead, I just felt hurt. Because for a moment, it had been real. And now, I didn't know what the hell to believe. Late that afternoon, they wheeled me out for a scan. I wasn't paying attention. My eyes stayed fixed on the hallway. Then, I saw him. Elijah stood at the far end of the corridor, clipboard in hand, talking to a colleague. He looked the same. Calm. Composed. Clean-cut. But when he turned slightly and spotted me, he froze. Our eyes met. My breath caught in my throat. I waited for something. A nod. A smile. Even a glance that meant he still saw me. Nothing. I asked the nurse to pause. She looked confused but stopped. I called out. Voice sharp, deliberate. "Dr. Hayes." He hesitated, then walked over, his expression unreadable. "Aiden," he said. How are you feeling? Seriously? I asked. That's all you're going to say? He glanced at the nurse, then back at me. His voice dropped. We should keep things professional. My stomach dropped. So that's it? You're just my doctor now? He didn't blink. That's all it ever was. I stared at him, heart pounding. So, everything that happened was nothing. It was a mistake? The words hit harder than I expected. My chest tightened, my jaw clenched. I wanted to scream, tell him he was lying, that I could still feel him, everywhere. But I didn't. I just nodded. Got it. I turned to the nurse. We can keep going. I didn't look back. On the day I was discharged, I changed into my clothes slowly, stalling, waiting for a visit I knew wouldn't come. The nurse brought my paperwork. I scanned it out of habit. Not signed by Elijah, just some other name. No note, no message, not even a good luck. When I walked out of the hospital, I told myself I was fine, but I wasn't. Not even close. I turned around one last time, half expecting him to appear at the glass doors, maybe chase me down the steps. He didn't. And I didn't cry, but I felt something buckle quietly inside me. A silent collapse I couldn't explain. The days that followed were heavier than I expected. I tried going out, seeing friends, laughing at jokes that weren't funny. I posted a photo from a beach bonfire, shirtless, smiling, pretending I wasn't still thinking about him every night, hoping he'd see it, hoping he'd remember what it felt like to kiss me with the door locked and the world shut out. If he saw it, he never said anything. And I didn't reach out either. God, I wanted to. But I couldn't bear the silence again. So I let him stay wherever he'd retreated. Let him pretend none of it had happened. Let him go back to his wife, his life, his image. But part of me still waited. One night, about a month later, I passed the hospital by accident. I was walking back from a friend's place, and there it was, glowing under the streetlights, windows lit like quiet eyes watching the city. And through the third-floor glass, there he was, Elijah. Standing by the nurse's station, holding a chart, lips moving slightly as he spoke to someone. But when they walked away, he didn't move. Just stared at the floor, like he didn't know what came next. I didn't move either. Just stood there on the sidewalk, watching the man who once touched me. Like I was the answer to a question he didn't know how to ask. The man who kissed me like it broke something inside him. The man who disappeared without ever saying goodbye. He didn't see me, and I didn't go inside. Instead, I whispered something only I needed to hear. You stitched my wound, Elijah, but you tore something else open, and I'll carry that scar a lot longer. Then I turned and kept walking. Time moved on. The wound on my arm healed long before the one in my chest even began to scab. Weeks turned into a month, then 2. I picked up my life where I'd left it. Back to the gym. Back to parties. Back to being the guy everyone thought had it easy. My friends made jokes about my legendary hospital stay, without ever knowing what really happened behind those curtains. What I'd left behind when I walked out of that room, I tried to forget. Tried to shove it all into a box and bury it deep in the back of my mind. But he lingered. Dr. Elijah Hayes. A man who'd spent his entire life holding it together. Until the day he didn't. Until the day I saw him. Really saw him. I still think about the way he looked at me when we were alone. Not with lust. Not just that. But with fear. Longing. Hunger. Like he needed someone to look past the perfect surface and see the man beneath it. He was married. A father. A man who probably woke up every morning convincing himself he'd made all the right choices. But for one night, he let himself feel something real. And then he ran. Some days, I hate him for that. For pulling me in, only to push me away. For kissing me like I was the first breath he'd taken in years. Then pretending I was nothing more than a passing infection the next morning. But other days, I just feel sorry for him. Because I know, he wanted to stay. I saw it in the way he trembled when I touched him, in the way he whispered my name like a secret he couldn't keep anymore. He wanted to stay, but he didn't know how. And me? I didn't know how to make him. I still have the hospital band in my drawer. It's buried under some random junk, like it means nothing, like I didn't nearly fall for someone who was never supposed to be mine. But on nights when sleep won't come, I dig it out and run my fingers over the name printed on it. Not mine. His. Elijah Hayes. Neatly written in that clipped, controlled doctor handwriting. The man who taught me what it meant to be desired by someone who spent his life denying desire. Sometimes I wonder if he checks my socials, if he watches my stories but never taps them, if he zooms in on photos where I'm laughing with someone else, trying to figure out if that smile's real. I wonder if he sits beside his wife in silence, scrolling through his phone, with me still echoing in the back of his mind. I wonder if he misses me. And if he does, whether that makes him feel more guilty or more alive. The last time I saw him, he looked lost, not panicked, not broken, just empty, like the part of him I'd unlocked was still open, still bleeding, beneath the surface of his perfect life. And maybe he'd stitched it up again. Maybe he'd covered it with another mask. But I saw the truth that night, just for a second, and he never looked down, never saw me standing in the dark, hands in my pockets, heart aching quietly. I didn't call out to him, didn't run inside like a rom-com idiot begging for closure. No speeches, no breakdowns, just me, letting go. A few weeks later, I almost texted him. I was lying in bed, half drunk on 2 glasses of wine, staring at my phone. His name was still in my contacts, no message thread, just a name. But I typed it anyway. Do you ever think about me? I stared at the sentence for a long time. My finger hovered over the send button. And then, I deleted it. Not because I didn't want to know, but because I already did. I met someone else eventually. A guy closer to my age, kind, funny, with a crooked smile and hands that didn't tremble when they touched me. It was different, lighter. He didn't carry shadows the way Elijah did. He wasn't trying to outrun himself. But some nights, I still close my eyes and think about a locked bathroom, a hospital bed, the sound of a man's breath breaking in the silence. I never told him about Elijah, what we were, what we weren't. Some stories don't need to be explained to be remembered. Sometimes I pass by the hospital, out of habit. I glance at the windows, wondering if he's in there, behind the glass, wondering if his life ever went back to normal, if he's still wearing the same mask, still pretending to be the man the world expects him to be. And sometimes, I hope he's not. I hope he figured it out. I hope he found a way to live in the truth, even if it's messy, even if it costs him. Because no one deserves to go through life half awake, not even the ones who leave us behind. I think he changed me, not in the obvious ways. I didn't fall in love overnight, didn't come out to the world in a grand declaration, but he cracked something open inside me. Made me realize I wanted more than just casual touches and jokes about size. I wanted connection, intimacy, someone who saw me the way he did. Like I was more than a pretty face or a story to laugh about later. He saw me. And even if he never says my name again, I'll always be grateful for that. So if you're reading this, Elijah, somehow, somewhere, I want you to know, I don't regret it. Not a single second. Not even the silence. Not even the goodbye you never gave. Because in a world full of people afraid to feel, you felt something. And you let me feel it too. And I'll carry that with me, always. Some moments aren't meant to last. They're meant to wake you up. What happened between us wasn't perfect. And it wasn't forever. But it was real. And in a world full of masks, that's rare. So wherever you are, Elijah, I hope you found your truth. Because I found mine, the night you let yourself touch me like it mattered.